I don't remember how I got here. I don't know who's to blame. The memories are gone. The good times are gone. All that's left is agony. Ah! Make it stop! Make it stop!
It hurts everywhere! What kind of place is this?
What the hell are we? Somebody help us! It was my whole pig family together in this awful cave of fire. Trapped with no room to move, no air to breathe, no hope of escape. Just the fire of our scorching skin and the company of each other screaming. At least it's not getting hotter. No, wait, it is. I was taken out of the oven onto a platter alongside the rest of my family. That's when I realized we had pork chop bodies. We then got placed on a circular table surrounded by a family of humans, all dementally excited to eat us. As I regained consciousness, I was struggling to understand what was going on.
Where am I? What's going on? Who are these people? What are you doing?
Sama video, mitä katsottiin viime.
Found him sleeping completely soundly, while still being able to hear the crying coming from somewhere else in the house. This made me think I was going crazy, so for a long time I tried not to tell anyone about it. It's not a good thing to admit that you're hearing voices which have no source. If I wasn't in...
Mitäs tää muuten on? Otetaan tämä.
I went to the grocery store one evening after a stressful day at work. All I wanted to do was go straight home, crack open a cold one, and munch on some Pringles for a snack. As soon as I entered the chip aisle, I saw a strange man standing in front of the Pringles. Even from a distance, I instantly knew something was off about him. He was wearing dress pants and a dress shirt with a tie, but it looked like he'd taken them off a body from the cemetery. His demeanor was deeply off-putting. He stared at the Pringles like he was in a trance, and every few seconds he would twitch and fidget. I thought he was on something, so I knew he could be dangerous if I got too close. For a moment, I considered just grabbing the Tostitos next to me and getting the hell out of there, but I didn't want some crackhead to keep me from getting the chips I wanted. I started pushing my cart toward him at a gradual pace so I didn't startle him. When I got within about 15 feet of him, he noticed me and finally looked away from the Pringles to stare me down with the eyes of a crazed freak. I tried to play it cool and kept inching forward to get what I wanted. When I was finally an arm's length of a can, the psycho suddenly grabbed every single one on the shelf and slammed them into his cart all at once. After he swept every single can of Pringles away, there was only one left on the shelf. I slowly reached for the can, preparing myself for the inevitable freak out when I touched it. But to my surprise, he didn't react. Instead, he just cracked a smile and started laughing like a psycho.
So this was all some kind of joke to you? Real funny, man. Grow up and do some laundry.
I stormed off, thinking that it all had to be some kind of prank. I got in line for checkout, and by the time I was rolling my cart out the door, I wasn't even thinking about it. However, nothing could have prepared me for what happened next.
Oh man, I can't wait to get home. What a day. I don't want to do anything this weekend except get sloshed and pound some Pringles down my esophagus. Pause. You have got to be kidding me! Out of the whole parking lot, he had to park next to my car? No way! I am not loading my groceries next to that freak! I'm just gonna move my car over there and not interact with this weirdo in any way whatsoever. What the hell are you doing? Are you insane? Hey! That's my car you're taking a shit next to! Go dump some logs in Dubai or with the 2 girls for 1 cup video! You idiot! Thank God. Are you done? Can you leave me alone now? You know that store had actual bathrooms you could use instead of my car and a Pringles No. What are you doing? You can't have more! Dear God. It reeks. Why the hell are you doing this? You animal! Is anyone else seeing this? Am I going insane? Hello? There's a man taking a giant shit in a Pringles can next to my car! You sick freak! I get it now, it's all a big joke to you! No, you did not just... Please stop! Oh God, it's in my mouth! Somebody help me!
I eventually found my footing and ran away, but since that day, I can still smell and taste what was in those cans. I can still feel the impact, the sheer weight, and the disgusting texture of his shit on my face. No amount of therapy will ever make me forget that. When the cops were called and that psycho was arrested, he turned out to be a lawyer who had some kind of mental breakdown. He said he was just blowing off steam, but all I saw was him blowing big turds. All I know is that I'll never be able to look at a can of Pringles the same way again. This story was inspired by a bizarre case regarding a male attorney named Jack Allen Blakesley, who got suspended for at least 6 months after tossing a poop-filled Pringles can into the parking lot of a victim advocacy center. Blakesley admitted during a disciplinary hearing that he threw the can from his car into the parking lot at least 10 times to quote-unquote blow off steam. Blakesley claimed that he was not targeting anyone, but had a habit of defecating in Pringles cans. He later pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and littering.
Man, I fell asleep watching Horror Shorts Party again. No wonder my dreams were so crazy. I've seen this one already. Shit still gives me the creeps. Mom? Are you home? Dang it, where is she? She should be home by now. What the? Jeez. That's what I get for watching scary stories all night. Hey, Mom. Are you on your way home yet?
No, honey. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be late.
What? Why?
The health department is making us all stick around to clean the machines.
But isn't that dangerous? They should get someone else to do it.
Don't worry, it'll be fine. Everything's off, so there's no chance of anyone getting hurt.
Alright, fine. Just be careful, okay?
I will, and it won't take long, I promise. Did you see the dinner I left on the counter?
No.
Well, it should hold you over for the night. Anyway, I gotta go now. My supervisor's back on the...
Come on, really? Whatever. What the hell is this shit? A can of Pringles for dinner again? Damn brat couldn't even get McDonald's or at the very least an OnlyFans account to feed me a decent meal for once. Huh? What's going on? What the hell is going on here? Calm down, be quiet. I'm your babysitter. Your mom sent me to take care of you while she's stuck at work. Alright? So just shh. I'm gonna take my hand off your mouth now. Are you gonna be a good boy? That's it. And guess what? I brought dinner. Come follow me. I was just having Pringles as a snack. Shouldn't I have something else for dinner? These aren't just any regular Pringles. This variety is much more full-bodied. Now grab some plates and have a seat. Okay. are just regular... What do you know about Pringles? I'm the goddamn Pringles man! Now eat your dinner! Do you have any clue about the craftsmanship that goes into each Pringle? The shape of the can, the shape of the crisp. Do you even know what a hyperbolic paraboloid is? That's what I thought! Now move faster! You're gonna down the whole can now! That's a good boy! Your mom's gonna be so proud when I tell her how much you love your dinner! How was it? Did you enjoy it?
It had good flavor.
That mystery flavor you were tasting. Since you enjoyed it so much, I have a special treat for you.
What? What is it?
One more chip.
But I'm so full already.
Shut up! Just think of it like one of those stupid one-chip challenges you little idiots like on TikTok. Now, what do you say? Do you want the chip?
Sure. Why does it look like a face?
Isn't it obvious? That face should look familiar to you. You just saw it on the phone a few minutes ago.
No, I don't believe you. This is some kind of trick. Nobody would ever do that to another person.
It's no joke. I turned your mom's smoking hot body into a batch of Pringles.
Your face stuck in your face with her the whole time. No, monster. How did you do that to my mom?
She was delicious, wasn't she?
Get away from me, you psycho!
Eat it! Eat it better than your deadbeat dad! Do it or I'll fry you up in the same oil! This story was inspired by a horrific incident revolving around a young woman suffered an agonizing fatality after she fell into an industrial potato chipper at work. The victim was a 24-year-old woman named Rafaela Alves dos Santos. According to reports, she fell onto the conveyor belt that carried potatoes to be chopped into chips and was crushed by the engine mount. Moments before the accident, she had been separating potatoes from organic matter on the conveyor belt. The potatoes were destined to be turned into Pringles and other various branded chips for supermarkets. A co-worker who was stood beside her at the time told how the belt was switched off, but suddenly turned on automatically, carrying Rafaela at speed towards the engine mount. The investigation into her death has since been ongoing.
This all happened a few years ago. Back then, my life looked a lot different. I was 31 years old, but I was still single and still lived with my parents in Cleveland, Ohio. Needless to say, things weren't going too well for me. I figured that my life would get a lot better if I could just meet a girl and fall in love, but I hadn't had much luck with that over the years. I used to go to this bar every Friday night after work in the hopes of meeting someone, but I never did. Usually, after I had struck out a couple of times with different women, I would find myself getting shit-faced off of beers and Pringle chips that I would buy from the bar. So, that's where I happened to be when it happened. This one Friday night, I got brutally rejected by this especially attractive woman. I was already feeling really shitty about myself that night too. I went at the beers hard after that, even harder than usual. I got so shit-faced that night that I found myself struggling to get out of the door a few hours later. I grabbed my Pringle chips and stumbled outside, trying not to pass out. I hadn't been that drunk in a long time. I even collapsed a couple of times as I attempted to take a few steps away from the bar. After the second or third time of falling over, I got up and vomited right in the middle of the sidewalk. That seemed to trigger something inside of me, because the next thing I knew, I was vomiting everywhere. I couldn't stop. It was horrible. That went on for several more minutes, but I was finally able to stop and continue on my way. I tried to walk a little more, but I eventually realized that there was no way that I was going to make it home on my own. So I sat down on a bench and tried to dial Uber. I was still so shit-faced that I could barely hit the numbers on my phone. As I tried to figure it out, I ate some more Pringles, hoping that it would sober me up a bit. I had just managed to actually call an Uber to come pick me up when, out of nowhere, the scariest looking man climbed out from behind a dumpster next to me. He looked freaky as hell. In the state I was in, I couldn't tell if he was a homeless man or a zombie, but he really creeped me out either way. He could have been a crackhead by the way that he kept twitching and jerking around as he stood there. It was extremely unsettling. The guy looked like he didn't eat anything too. He was incredibly skinny and impoverished. He had probably been fishing for food behind the dumpster. I knew I was in trouble as soon as I saw him. I figured he was going to start harassing me for money or for my chips. I tried to ignore the man and just wait for my Uber. I really didn't want to get into any situation, especially since I was still very drunk. I made a point of looking the other way and avoiding eye contact, but I saw the man walk over to me out of my peripheral.
Hey, you. Could you spare some of those Pringles?
I gave my best effort to ignore him, but the man kept asking me for some chips.
Please? Just a couple? I'm starving, man.
The man was obviously trying to be polite, but he still looked extremely creepy the entire time he spoke to me. When I continued to ignore him, the man began to press me.
Oh, come on! You have a whole can right there! Just give me some! Just one! Give me one, you selfish little shit!
I figured that if I gave the guy one, then he would just press me for more, so I really didn't want to give him any. He wouldn't take the hint though. I finally turned to him and told him to beat it.
I'm not giving you any of my chips. Just leave me the hell alone.
The man still wouldn't back off though. He just kept asking me and asking me, getting louder and more obnoxious as he did it. I refused him again and again, but it didn't do any good. That's when the man started getting physical. Out of nowhere, he grabbed me by the collar and lifted me up. I felt totally defenseless too, as I was still extremely incoherent. I was in no state to get into a fight, as the guy held onto my collar. He looked at me with the creepiest look I have ever seen. He was obviously a total psycho.
Give me some Pringles, now!
I pushed and kicked at the man as hard as I could, but he was a lot stronger than he looked. Finally, I was able to break free and fell onto the ground. As I struggled to get back up, the man suddenly snapped completely and pulled out a knife. I was absolutely terrified. Then, I looked behind the man and saw my Uber arriving down the street. I began stumbling towards it, trying as hard as I could to get away, but the man was too fast. He came charging at me holding the knife in the air.
This is what you get for not giving me Pringles! No! No! No!
I woke up in the hospital a few hours later with bandages on my face. A nurse later told me that I narrowly survived an attack. Apparently, my Uber driver had seen the confrontation and was able to stop the attacker from any further inflicted damage he had already done to me. The police were later called and the psycho man was arrested shortly after. He was allegedly a convicted felon who had been known to cause trouble with patrons around that area before. Police say that I wasn't the first person he attacked. I've been traumatized by Pringle chips ever since that night. I haven't eaten another one because of the horrific memories it reminds me of. This story was inspired by a disturbing incident that happened in 2023. Police say detectives arrested a man in connection to a shooting caused by a dispute over Pringles potato chips. Police identified 42-year-old Melvin Wright as the man who took aim at another person in the face for refusing to share his Pringles chips. The incident took place around 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, right outside of a gentleman's club called Lusty Adventures in Akron, Ohio. Police say the victim took himself to the hospital after the incident. Officers later found the suspect with a firearm during the arrest that may have been used during the assault. Wright has since been charged and put behind bars.
Joo, mainos.
Head and Shoulders?
Tässä on katsottu
En tiedä,
pelottavia
sinulla on
klippejä
hiukset.
nytten, niin...
Ei mulla. Head and Shoulders poistaa hirseen ja rasvan ja säännöllisesti
Otetaan
käytetään
tämä, mikä tää on.
Ei hiisettä!
Joo, tämmönen mainos, joo. Joo. Kyllä nämä mainokset on vallan typeriä.
I used to get McDonald's coffee almost every morning on my way to work. However, something recently happened to me that might be the end of me being able to ever enjoy a cup of coffee again. Like any normal day, I went through the drive-thru of my local McDonald's and got my usual order before going to the office. But on that day, something about that cup of coffee was just off. It was still drinkable, but it was more bitter than usual and had a bit of a rancidness to it. I figured the coffee was expired and the bad taste could be covered up by some cream or sugar, and so I went back to the drive-thru and grabbed a few of them. I really thought everything would be fine after that, but to my disappointment, the coffee still didn't taste right. Each sip was like choking down piss or sewage water. It was that bad. I started to feel like I was becoming one of those people on the internet that got messed up after having the grimace shake. But all I was having was a cup of coffee. At first, I was just disgusted by the taste. But once I had enough of that stuff in me, my whole body started to reject what I drank. Suddenly, it became obvious that I had no choice but to pull over and throw on the hazard lights to prepare for what was about to happen to me. As soon as I stopped, I frantically crawled over the passenger seat and pushed the door open. A moment later, as my head hung out of the car, the floodgates opened. I unleashed the most unholy and powerful stream of vomit I have ever witnessed come out of somebody's mouth. My whole body wrung itself out with each convulsion, again and again, each time forcing me to retaste that awful coffee. I felt like I was moments away from drowning in my own uncontrollable projectile vomit. The sheer force of it made it splash everywhere and coat the inside of my car, as well as my face and all my clothes. Unfortunately, as I gasped for air and tried to get a hold of myself, I slipped out of my car and fell right into the gigantic pile of it. The overwhelming disgust I felt at that moment made me start throwing up all over again. I kept thinking I didn't have anything left in me, but then out of nowhere, there was more. It wasn't long before someone pulled over and asked if I needed any help, but I couldn't speak for several minutes. I just kept hurling. At some point, they offered me some water which I used to rinse out my mouth, only for my stomach to push out another surge of bile. Before I knew it, I had become some sort of spectacle for a small group of people on the side of the road. Of course, most of them kept themselves at a safe distance, but some guy kept asking me if I needed an ambulance. But I didn't need an ambulance. I needed the police. I whipped my car around and sped all the way back to the McDonald's. The whole time I kept looking at the coffee in my cup holder and thinking that it must have been laced with poison. When I got back to the McDonald's, I cut in front of the line and demanded an explanation from the staff.
What the hell did you serve me? It's just coffee, sir. Don't play dumb with me. I know you put something in there. Tell me. I don't know what you're talking about. Please calm down.
I didn't want to play stupid with him all day, so I took the lid off the cup and looked inside. About half of it was gone, but floating on the surface was the most unmistakable sight of the most disturbing, horrifying thing I have ever seen. It was a dead, rotting mouse stuck to the bottom of the cup. The sight of it sent me into a third bout of uncontrollable vomiting, which took me a long time to recover from. I was in disbelief, and yet it made perfect sense. If that McDonald's had a rodent infestation, the stupid managers probably stuffed the place full of rat poison and figured it would solve the problem, until one of the poisoned mice crawled inside of a cup and croaked in there, just for some drowsy minimum wage worker to be completely oblivious as they poured the coffee right over it. The police were called because of the scene I caused. I ended up choosing to file a report against the McDonald's location, and I've been fighting with them ever since. They must have paid off some health inspectors, because they released a statement claiming there was no evidence of any pest problem whatsoever, and that what happened to me was an isolated incident they are not responsible for. I know I'll get them one day, because I have concrete photo evidence to prove their negligence. I missed work for a week because of how sick I was, and my car has never smelled the same. Since then, I'm still waiting to be compensated. I don't even know if I'll ever be able to enjoy coffee again. This story was inspired by a horrifying incident that happened to a Fredericton man who actually found a dead mouse inside his McDonald's coffee cup. Here's an image of it below. The man stated that when he picked up a cup of coffee from a local McDonald's restaurant on his way to work, he was contently sipping his coffee when he found a small mouse in the bottom of the cup. When brought to the attention of McDonald's, a pest control company allegedly found no evidence of any rodent issues in the building and has mentioned that they are continuing to investigate the isolated incident.
I'm so hungry. Can someone please give me something to eat? Anyone?
Go eat your wife. Get a job, loser. Oh, God, that looks so good. I wish I had more to eat than just the homeless lady on 54th Street.
Hey, can I have some of that? Oh, come on, man. I just want something to eat.
Yeah, screw you! I gotta make this work.
Excuse me, sir. Could you help me out? Miss, could you spare some change? Please, sir. Can I have some more?
Screw off.
Spare change? Hey, can I have your leftovers? Pretty please? Can anyone help a hobo out? Please, I haven't eaten anything since I divorced my wife. Hey!
Shut up and get a job, you lazy bum!
What the hell is your problem?
Nobody wants to hear your jingling pennies and your stupid cup! Everybody just loves to kick somebody while they're down. You know, I like to be the person kicking for a change one of these days. Wouldn't that be nice? How long was I out for?
Wow, look at that.
Oh, yeah, that sounds real nice. How much we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. $4.01 and all of this, which has got to be at least a couple bucks. I can definitely buy a Big Mac now. Yes!
Hey, what's going on? Let me in! Get out of here! I'm not letting you in! Why? Because this isn't a homeless shelter! Well, screw you then!
Oh crap, where am I? I gotta stop getting spooked like that, it's gonna get me into trouble. Wait a second. Yes, I'm safe! Let's hope folks on this side of town aren't as uptight as those other jerks. Come on, please be open. I know it's not that late. What the? Somebody's still in here, but what are the hours to this place? Well, that's not helpful. I guess if the door's unlocked, I can come on in.
Hello? Is anyone here? Are you open? Hello? I'm starving. I need something to eat. Please.
Good evening, sir. How may I help you? Hi. I'd like to order a Big Mac, please. And fries. And a drink. Actually, just give me as much as I can get for however much this is. Very well, then. Follow me. I want to show you the best deal I have. Oh, thank you, sir. You just made my night. I've run into nothing but jerks all day. I'll put an end to that, my friend. Just come back here with me. Oh, you mean behind the counter? I haven't been behind a counter of a restaurant since I had a job. And how long has that been, my friend? Since I got addicted to, you know. No! Where are they? Are you out of patties?
What does it look like? Yes, I'm out of patties. I'm Ronald freaking McDonald and I don't have a single Big Mac. What is wrong with me? I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Hey, watch out. You're burning your hands. Oh, this is nothing. Nothing at all. Doesn't it smell delicious? What the hell is wrong with you? Stay back. Come on now. Just a little whiff.
Okay.
Yes, that's it. Get in close. Nice and close.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Exactly! I'm gonna cook you alive! No! Please let me go!
Behind me stands the scene of a series of crimes that will undoubtedly go down as the darkest moments in the history of our community. A man, whose name authorities have not yet released, has been arrested under multiple charges of kidnapping, murder, and cannibalism. It's believed that thousands of hamburger patties may have been contaminated or even completely comprised of human tissue. If you or someone you know has ever eaten at this establishment and fear you may have been affected, call the number on your screen now.
This story was inspired by an old conspiracy that went viral back in the day regarding a Facebook post of someone saying that a McDonald's restaurant was using human meat in their hamburgers. The conspiracy has since been labeled as a hoax used to cause public outrage and create publicity. But there are still a large number of people who believe that there's more to the meat produce than just beef, despite the conspiracy being shot down.
A few years ago, I lived in a small bungalow-type house with one other guy in West Virginia. The place was kind of cramped for two people, but we made it work since neither of us had much money. We both worked at the same McDonald's back then, so we didn't make a lot. I had just recently moved out of my parents' place so that I could be closer to work. I worked the night shift full-time, and my parents lived pretty far away from the McDonald's. I hated driving so far all of the time, and I wanted less of a commute. My roommate happened to work the same shift as me too, so we were able to drive to work together most nights. It wasn't the best job, but I wasn't able to find anything else. Over the course of my stay there, mine and my roommate's diet pretty much only consisted of McDonald's. We'd get Big Macs, fries, nuggets, basically anything off of the menu and eat it for dinner. We got to bring free food home after every shift, so we'd always gorge on it before we went to sleep. I felt disgusting only eating McDonald's all of the time, but that's what I had to do. I didn't really have time to go shopping and the McDonald's was free. Apart from having to eat the food all of the time, it wasn't such a bad experience working there. That is until later on when something disturbing started happening. Every time I went into work, I would find a bunch of druggies and junkies loitering around inside and outside the McDonald's. They would roll inside in gangs. Dozens of them would be there every night. The McDonald's became like a trap house. They would all buy cheap cups of coffee just to have a reason to stay. It became a big problem because they would make other customers very uncomfortable. I felt bad for them though, especially this one guy named Albert. He always seemed worse off than the rest of them in there. I would give him free fries sometimes when the managers weren't looking. I didn't want to kick any of them out. It was the middle of winter and cold as shit outside, which made it hard to do so without feeling guilt-tripped about it. I had a bit of a soft spot for them because my brother had become homeless due to an addiction. It was a bad situation though. More and more of them kept coming every week. My roommate and the other employees on the shift started complaining to the boss about it. They said that they didn't feel safe working with all the junkies there. My boss said that we couldn't do much if they kept buying coffee. As long as they were paying customers, they had a right to be in the store. And at that time, the loitering laws weren't as strict. So every night, my roommate and I would go work at a McDonald's full of addicts, and then go home to pick out on our free food. We started to work so much that we barely had time to do anything else.
Mainos.
Anything else. The house became a total pigsty. McDonald's fries lay everywhere. Bags of half-eaten food were piled in the kitchen. It was a dump. I started to get tired of living in the mess. It was really getting to be disgusting. Flies were all over the place and the smell was awful. I complained to my roommate about it and told him that we had to clean up. but he just brushed me off. I kept asking him about it, but he told me that it was all my mess and refused to help. This went on for weeks. I tried to clean up what I could, but I never had the energy after working all night. There was no way for me to keep up with all the garbage from the McDonald's food. The stench became overwhelming and I got really depressed from it all. Finally, I decided that I couldn't take it anymore. I had to quit McDonald's, which of course meant that I couldn't afford to live on my own anymore. So I planned to move back out to my parents' place. Before I fully moved out, I cleaned up all of the trash and food that was everywhere. I didn't feel right leaving my roommate to deal with all of it, even though he didn't seem to care that much. When I finished cleaning everything, I noticed something strange. The house was still filled with a disgusting stench. It was like I hadn't even cleaned it. I went around the house trying to find where that smell could be coming from. Eventually, I realized that it was coming from the attic. My roommate and I never went into the attic, so I didn't know what could be up there, but I checked anyway. When I opened the door, I almost threw up from the stench that hit me. It was absolutely disgusting. It smelled like piss and shit and rotting food. After looking around further, we had found a bunch of McDonald's fries and other garbage laying on top of some blankets, followed by a large hole in the wall. It looked like someone had been living up there. That's when we speculated that Albert, the homeless man from McDonald's that I had been giving free fries to, had been living up there for months. All this time, he would sneak down when my roommate and I left for work and head over to the McDonald's. There, he would get his free fries from me and then head back to the attic again. I was traumatized by the thought that someone had been living above us for God knows how long. That was why the stench was always so bad. I haven't eaten at a McDonald's since. Even the smell of the food makes me sick. All I know is that Albert was a sick man who was severely ill in the head. This story was inspired by a real-life fan-submitted story revolving around a time when the viewer worked at McDonald's. The viewer claims that he had discovered fries when cleaning out his attic, and has had no other explanation for it other than the same homeless man that he had been giving free food to had been living up there for God knows how long. The viewer claims that the landlord of the house has since patched up the hole, and has even installed cameras since the disturbing revelation.